You've heard it was said to your ancestors, you shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. So, as he usually does, Jesus goes right to the heart of the matter. He goes deep down into our interiority. What lies behind sins like killing somebody is this anger welling up within us. That has to be addressed. The church recommends, three great practices for Lent: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. But I'm always struck by the readings during Lent because they suggest, I think, a fourth great practice, which is the forgiveness of one's enemy. There's enough anger in the Catholic community to light up the Eastern Seaboard. Now, I say that not to pick on the Catholic community. I would say that about any gathering of human beings anywhere. A lot of us are sitting on lots and lots of unresolved anger, frustration, etc. Now, what is anger if we construe it as a sin? Well, Thomas Aquinas defined the deadly sin of anger as an irrational or excessive desire for revenge. It's an interesting definition, isn't it? Because someone has harmed us, and we feel naturally this desire to get back at them. When that desire becomes excessive or irrational, we're dealing with this deadly sin of anger. Dante, of course, sees it as one of the sins that has to be purged on Mount Purgatory. And the angry have to go through smoke because anger has that kind of effect on us. It sort of chokes us and blocks our vision. Now, we have to distinguish the deadly sin of anger from a legitimate passion for justice. Take someone like Martin Luther King. Great offenses were done to his people, and he felt the desire to right those wrongs and was filled with a kind of righteous indignation. Okay. The Lord Jesus turns over the tables of the money changers in the temple. He's angry, with a kind of justified indignation. So we're not talking about that. If you feel that, good, off you go. Work and fight for justice. But the deadly sin of anger, and I think all of us sinners understand this, is not that. It's this irrational, excessive desire for revenge, which produces this kind of choking smoke in our lives. During Lent, I might suggest the practice, therefore, of forgiving enemies. Now, how central it is to the teaching of Jesus. And I just want to read you a little bit from the Sermon on the Mount. 5, 6, and 7, chapters 5, 6, 7 of St. Matthew. Terrific reading for the Lenten season, or really any time. But listen to this. You've heard it was said to your ancestors, you shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. So, as he usually does, Jesus goes right to the heart of the matter. He goes deep down into our interiority. What lies behind sins like killing somebody is this anger welling up within us. That has to be addressed. And then just a tad later in chapter 5, what I would consider the theological and rhetorical high point of the Sermon on the Mount is his teaching on the love of enemies. Listen. You've heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. Now why? For he makes his sun to rise on the bad and the good, and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. The rhetorical and spiritual climax of this great sermon, because in the act of loving our enemies, we most imitate God. See, God is love right through. Love is all God is. It's all he has. It's the only thing he's got in his bag. That's all he can give is love. What's the greatest test of love? that we will the good precisely of those who are not going to will good back to us. When we love those who are not going to return the gift in kind, we know we're dealing with true willing the good of the other. That's why the forgiveness, the love of enemies, is so central to the Christian life. Now, let me give you a couple of examples to concretize all this. What does it look like in practice? Let me take you back, it's over maybe like 25 years now. I was just back from my studies in Paris. I was a young teacher at Mundelein Seminary. And at that moment, the Archbishop of Chicago, Cardinal Joseph Bernardin, was accused of sexual misconduct by a young man named Stephen Cook. Now, this is before 2002, before the thing was really on the national radar screen. It was the very beginning of the sexual abuse scandal. Well, the whole world was flummoxed by this charge. I remember Cardinal Bernardin, this is maybe 2 months after the charge was made, came to Mundelein Seminary where I was teaching. And it was a scheduled event. It wasn't to address this issue. He was going to come anyway. But the whole community was gathered in this room, the faculty, the students, everybody. And he spoke to us about this experience. And he said it was so devastating that at night in his private chapel, he would get down, spread eagle on the ground in front of the tabernacle, just begging God to take this away from him. Like, how could this have happened to me? So I mean, we viscerally felt what it was like for this man to go through this accusation. Well, you might remember, maybe it was a month after that, Stephen Cook withdrew the charge. He admitted that it was a false memory, and Bernardin was exonerated. Well, who would have blamed him if he had just said, Stephen Cook, the heck with you, I got nothing more to do with you? Wouldn't we even have praised him if he had just, kind of quietly moved on? But instead what the cardinal did, and it's kind of just, burned in my memory, is he got on a plane and he flew to where Stephen Cook was. I think it was Cincinnati, as I remember. And Cook was dying at the time. He was dying of AIDS. And the cardinal brought him a Bible. He gave him a Bible as a gift. He anointed him, gave him the last sacraments, and then he prayed with him. Well, it's one of those moments when you see the Sermon on the Mount in action. Had Stephen Cook deeply harmed the cardinal? Yeah, we could see it. We knew what that was like. But what did he do in response? Is he forgave him? Is he loved his enemy? That's the practice the Lord is talking about. That's the practice I'm talking about. Here's one more example. This is from maybe around the same time frame. I want to say 25 years ago or so. True story. About an Amish family in Pennsylvania, and they're in their horse-drawn buggy, which is the way they, got around. And it was two parents and their teenage son in the buggy, and they were going along, and then up behind them came this automobile filled with kind of rowdy teenagers that were annoyed at the slow-moving vehicle. So they were, shaking their fists, and they were shouting at the buggy, and then in frustration, they kind of just drove quickly around. And then one of the kids had a stone or brick or something, and his intention was to throw it at the horse. But he threw it in such a way that it missed the horse, and it hit the young man, the teenager, and it killed him. So this kind of heartbreaking, heart-wrenching story about these good, innocent people simply out for a ride in the buggy, and for no good reason whatsoever, the son, this teenage kid, is killed. Now, what did the parents do? They actually attended the trial of this young man and testified on his behalf. They testified that he might not be sent to prison. He was in fact convicted, was in fact sent to prison. But then, on a regular basis, those parents visited that young man in prison. Well, that's what we're talking about here. That's the gospel in all of its drama and strangeness and surprise. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who maltreat you. Someone who's harmed you, and you feel this desire for revenge. Maybe it's become irrational and excessive. It's become this deadly sin of anger. How do we deal with it? practice the art of forgiving one's enemy. So could I urge everybody listening to me, and listen, I'm preaching to myself here. Don't think I'm on some high horse telling you what to do. I'm preaching to myself here. Think very concretely of an enemy. You've all got one. Don't pretend you don't. We all do. Someone that's harmed us in some specific way. Now, do something to express love and forgiveness to that enemy. It might be a phone call, it might be an email, it might be a visit. I don't know what it is. It might be a prayer, even if that's all you can muster, a prayer. Do it. And I don't mean think about it, I mean do it. Lest it be simply a velleity, do it. Practice the love of enemy. It's a great thing to do for Lent, a great thing to do anytime in the Christian life. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to share it and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm holding in my hand here this beautiful third edition of our Word on Fire Institute journal, Evangelization and Culture. Gosh, I'm just so proud of these. This is the third one, as I say, and each one is just more beautiful than the previous one. We wanted to emphasize truth and beauty. So 2 Word on Fire hallmarks. There's a lot of truth in this thing, a lot of really interesting articles, but just the beauty of it from the cover to this layout, just the illustrations, the photography, the way the thing is organized. It's just beautiful. And it's a delight just to hold it. It's like a work of art in itself. I want to highlight just a couple things from this one. I love this. It was an interview with Matt Leonard. Matt was the director of both the Catholicism series and the Pivotal Players series. And it's talking to him about that whole experience. And we focused on the Fulton Sheen episode, as you can see. Another thing that I was struck by, our own Brandon Vaught did this article on the 5 lessons for a new media evangelist. Brandon, one of the sharpest, young people working in this area of new media. So that's a delight. And then one that especially strikes me, this spotlight interview with Dave Rubin. Not sure if you know Dave Rubin, but he's a pretty prominent player based out here in LA. On YouTube, he has a program where he interviews some leading figures, in the culture. And he's reached out twice to me, and we've had 2, interesting conversations. And he's a guy that, when I first met him, declared himself to be an agnostic or an atheist. Since then, I think has shown a certain openness to things of the Spirit. What I like about him is, though he's kind of a secularist in his overarching view of things, he's open to different perspectives, including religion. So interesting conversation with him. Lots of other things. There's an article I love here on the Divine Comedy, read through the eyes of Gustave Doré, the wonderful 19th century illustrator of Dante. You might recognize those beautiful illustrations. Anyway, there it is, full of truth, full of beauty. You get it by becoming a member of the Word on Fire Institute. And friends, I want to say just a couple things about that. Don't think of this as, oh, what a nice perk I can put on my coffee table if I join the Institute. I see this, along with everything else we offer in the Institute, as a tool. It's a tool to help you in your work of evangelization. I'm a Vatican II man. Vatican II clearly speaks of the universal call to holiness. How do we find holiness? We find it in mission. So this applies, here's Vatican II, not just to priests, religious, and bishops. It applies to all the baptized. Every baptized person is priest, prophet, king. Now, the church, properly led spiritually by priests and bishops, but every baptized person has the obligation to announce the faith. We're offering this to you and everything else in the Word on Fire Institute, not just, for your kind of spiritual entertainment. It's meant to be an opportunity, tools to help you in your work as an evangelizer. So that's the encouragement. If you want this beautiful thing, which is a tool to help you to evangelize, join the Institute. Join now well over 11,000 people who have made a similar commitment. And I mean that. It's not just, to get nice things to read. It's a commitment to dedicate yourself to doing the work of the church. So you want this, join the Institute. And joining the Institute is a way to deepen your own baptismal identity, your own baptismal commitment to be an evangelist. And God bless you.